Well, thank you guys. I know it's like, as always, predictably at Tree4, it's like a little bit of a slow start. I'm sure we'll have some people peel in. I'm Sean Wakely, the director of Hackfort. I'm super excited to kick this off, and I'm really happy to have Eleanor and Singming out. Security is a really big topic in the world right now, and I'm really happy that Hackfort this year, we worked with Boise State, and we're really excited about who we're bringing in because a lot of poignant topics here. And so I want to thank you again, Eleanor, for coming out. I know it's a little small crowd, but I'm seeing some people trickle in, which is great. So. Thanks, everybody, and let's have a really, really fun Hackfort, all right?
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for having me. I have to say, it's a huge honor. I've never presented at a music festival before. It's a little intimidating at the same time. So I just want to kind of kick off things by thanking you for having me here. Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah, and it is being recorded.
Oh, all right. And we're being recorded, so that's super awesome. But basically, my name's Eleanor Taylor. I am the program manager for workforce development and university partnerships at Idaho National Lab in our CyberCore division. So I get to work with Singming and Boise State on a multitude of things, and I'm super excited to be with you here today. Can I get this slide? Oh, there we go. See, perfect. So we don't need to talk about that. All right, so I started with this slide because, quite frankly, music is, universal in so many ways, and I promised to tie music to cybersecurity, so I had to do a lot of research. And I know a lot about science in music and math in music, but cybersecurity, I had to do a little bit more digging. And so when I found this quote, I originally only found the first sentence, which I thought was really poignant for what we were talking about. So, it's by logic that we prove, but by intuition that we discover. The second part of the quote made me feel more comfortable about presenting to an audience that likes music probably more than cybersecurity. So please don't criticize. I know you won't, but it is better to create. And what's really interesting is the author of this quote, Henri Poincaré. He is a French mathematician, and he lived from 1850-something to like 1912. So this is a really dated quote, but certainly true, especially today. So, and he was very interested in the creativity of math. So a lot of us don't think of math and creativity in the same space, but he did, and he was also the father of chaos theory. So there's a fun fact. I found out many of them as I was preparing for this presentation. All right, so we kind of know this. Music makes everything better. All right, I worked with a scientist that used to run the Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge. He is brilliant. He launched the National Brain Observatory here in the States, and he used to talk about this music, math, science connection all the time. And what's really interesting about it is why it works so well is music utilizes like almost every part of our brain, whether we know it or not. But it really helps synchronize the left brain and the right brain. So that's what makes it such an important, powerful part of math, science, art, and cybersecurity. It's all of the above. So there are elements of music that help us. Now, you may have heard of the Mozart effect, and it basically proves that students can do better by listening to classical music. And it's been extended that it's not just classical music, but music itself. And it has to do with that left brain, right brain synchronization. So 40% improvement by listening to music sounds pretty cool to me. So we should all be listening to music more often. That's my main takeaway. So math is the language of science. So if music can help us in math, it certainly can help us in science. And music and art is pretty easy. Art is kind of like the visual representation. And all of those things are true for cybersecurity as well. It helps us with pattern recognition, repetition, visual analysis, acuity. These are all really important skills to have. So if you like music, you might like cybersecurity, and I hope that you will. So taking it a little further, as I promised, this demonstrates all the different areas that your brain gets activated when you're listening to music. In physical sense, in a mental sense, in an emotional sense. So that's why music is so powerful when you're learning math and science and cybersecurity. As a matter of fact, I'll share with you some research that took place just last summer at Carnegie Mellon. So cyber attacks, there's all kinds of them. There's a lot of them. There's more devices in this world than there are people. So the amount of data is staggering. So what someone did at Carnegie Mellon is they put cybersecurity to look at attacks to music so that they could start to identify variations in the data. So while this might not be the best example, as you listen to the music, you'll hear certain chords that are out of place. And that helps you identify the vulnerability that you want to look at. So I thought for this audience, this would be super cool for you to know that this is the kind of research that's going on. And if you could spot it, we have a job for you. So anyway, I'll let that play for a second. All right, so oops, sorry, I thought I'd moved it. All right, so music is a treat. And obviously I found this slide or graphic on the web. But let me point out the similarities again to cybersecurity. All right, we play music, we play instruments. We play a lot in cybersecurity. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of different ways of looking at the problem and trying to structure it and solve it. We certainly improvise. A lot of times we don't have all the time or all the detail. So we have to take what we know and our creativity and innovation and try to find answers and solutions. We need to be proactive, not reactive. So we improvise in cybersecurity. We compose all kinds of things. We compose briefs. We look at different pieces and parts. And so we look at the different arrangements. It's not just one thing. Cybersecurity isn't just identity theft or cyber physical, and we'll go into all of these different elements, but there's a whole lot to it. So our composition, we work with different specialists, we work with linguists, we work with analysts, we work with researchers. So we compose and we work like a symphony together. We read and notate. We do a lot of that. There's a lot of documents, there's a lot of things that we track, there's a lot of things we need to look at. And we listen. We listen probably even more than we read and notate, because that's really, really important. We evaluate. We evaluate circuits. We look at sensors. We look at equipment. We look at software. We look at firmware. We look at hardware. And we evaluate all of those things and better understand what's taking place so that we can be more secure, more resilient. Resiliency is a really important aspect of cybersecurity. So you're never going to be 100% secure. So be 100% resilient, because that's what's going to really matter. It also ties really well in the program that Sin Ming will talk about next. We make connections. So cybersecurity, it sounds like it's about technology. It's all about the people. It's about the people in front of that technology. It's about the people that create the technology. It's about the people that administer that technology, and connecting them in their experiences and their understanding and their disciplines. That's something that we do all the time. History is always your best teacher. We look at former attacks, we learn about them, we teach about them, we teach defenses against them so that we have a better forearmed, forewarned workforce in the future. We don't really sing, at least not at work. There might be some karaoke afterwards, there's probably drinking involved, but we definitely don't sing at work. But there you have it. So we like to think of music is a treat in so many ways. But another thing to be aware of, it's also a target. And so phishing scams and whatnot, protecting your music, people are stealing that all the time. Anything that's online is vulnerable. It's available. And a lot of phishing attacks are now using popular songs and music to get you to click on a link, to play a file, and maybe you'll hear it, but while you're listening to it, other things are happening that you don't want to. So be very, very aware of what's taking place. All right, so my next comparison. Music is just like cybersecurity, just like medicine. The taxonomies are vast. There's all kinds of genre, there's all kinds of elements, there's all kinds of instruments, and we need all of them to have what we're looking for. So there's no short supply in the different elements of music, and the same thing is true with cybersecurity. So this is probably just a small snapshot of all the different domains that exist. But the good news about cybersecurity is it doesn't matter if what you like. There's a role for you in cybersecurity, whether you like risk, whether you like technology, software, hardware. If you're a linguist, a psychologist, all of those things have ramifications and are needed when we look at cybersecurity and the teams that we're building and what we need to be successful. So I hope you see that there's a place for anyone that has any interest within cybersecurity. There's a domain, there's an opportunity, there's a way it can apply as we look to the future and how we are more cyber secure as a nation. All right, I also promised I would talk about ciphers and cryptology. So this was really interesting research for me when I was getting ready for this. I knew some of it, but it's kind of funny. If you think about hiding messages, if you're familiar with the Caesar cipher, basically these letters up here, that's like the original Caesar cipher. So if you're running around in the 17th century and you've got some random letters, it's pretty clear that you are delivering a message or trying to obfuscate something. However, if you do that musically, very few people could pick up that you are actually trying to deliver a secret message. But they did that. They did that in the 1700s. So it was a really great way to disguise getting secret messages out. So music and cybersecurity have a long history together. We've been doing this for a long, long time. And it's really interesting the different ways that we can do that. As a matter of fact, we're able to also hide messages visually in lots of different ways. So it's just kind of an example or an application of cybersecurity you might not have thought of, but has been around for hundreds of years. All right, so I'm back to my next quote. So the good news is I am now transitioning out of the stuff I didn't know so well into the stuff I know super well. But I thought this was really kind of fun because music is not math. Cybersecurity is not math. I get a lot of students or people that are interested in it that get really afraid of the math component. Math is everywhere. You'll learn math, you'll apply math. It doesn't mean you have to be a math major. It doesn't mean you have to have calculus. So you shouldn't let math be your stopping point from a career in cybersecurity. Sin Ming may argue with me on this point, but I said it first, so there you have it. Okay, woohoo. All right, so now let me talk about what I do know. And this is cybersecurity. I promised you that there were all kinds of different cyber careers available. And these images and these descriptions are directly off of the CISA website. And CISA stands for Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They're part of the Department of Homeland Security. And they are doing some really cutting edge things for a government agency. They're changing their hiring process. They're doing a lot of outreach and education. They've got all kinds of free training. They developed all of these different kind of themes in terms of different jobs. You can look at what it takes to do these jobs, what kind of education, what you need to do in school. But again, going back to the common themes that cybersecurity and music share, creativity is at the top of the list. It doesn't sound like it would be a creative job, but if you're not creative, you're not going to be successful. You need to outthink, outsmart, be ahead of your adversary. And right now, with what's going on in the world, think about Anonymous and hacktivists, right? Anonymous is trying to recruit people to help their Ukraine by doing cybersecurity attacks, all right, and bringing together people to think through these things and try to use things differently. I mean, the whole future of warfare will probably change in front of us as we see these things escalate and people go after cyber physical infrastructure. We take that for granted a lot when we think about all the things, our electricity, our water, chemical plants. These are things that are connected to the internet too. And when you're connected to the internet, you're by definition vulnerable. So you really need to think about things differently, which is why all of these same things that are important in music are important in cybersecurity. So inspiration, innovation, persistence, oh my goodness, you have to be very persistent. If you are trying to look at a past attack or understand who's launching that attack, you have to go back through, you have to use all of these skills to understand what's going on, and you need to make sure you're right, because you don't want to accredit an attack to somebody that didn't do it. So there's a lot of different things that are necessary for us to do cybersecurity. It's definitely a lot of teamwork, and just like in music, you can have soloists that are fabulous, and we have them too. But at the end of the day, it's about coming together with all of these different perspectives to get to an end result. In diversity is a huge issue in cybersecurity. We need all different perspectives from all different people. That's what's going to fortify us in the future. So I get to talk a little bit about this. This is a big deal. And this is why a national lab is involved in cybersecurity and workforce development. Typically, national labs do the things others can't, shouldn't, or wouldn't. But let me tell you why I have a job at INL doing this. So what I do is this. See this? Over 90% are not being met. 90%. That in and of itself, that's a national security issue. That's why I have a job. I'm not doing this for Idaho National Lab. I am doing this for our country. We need to build that pipeline. I need more control system cybersecurity experts. We need it. The United States needs it. That's the job that I'm doing. That's why I'm here today. So let me talk a little bit about that. Cybersecurity has so many disciplines and specialties and subspecialties. So here's an easier high-level way of looking at things. There's information technology and there's operational technology. Both need people of all kinds. But I just want to walk you through what some of the differences are, because we'll talk a lot about cybersecurity. And cybersecurity has a bit of a vernacular problem. We can't even decide if it's one word or two, let alone talk about IT, OT, cyber physical, control system cyber, industrial cybersecurity. You'll hear all different kinds. Again, you should hear that as an opportunity, because there's all different ways that you can get here. And there is no one direct path. You don't need to decide today. You can decide tomorrow. You can change your mind. You can go in another field. So just to give you kind of a sense of how we differentiate when I talk about control system cybersecurity or industrial cybersecurity, I am focusing more on this side of the equation and those differences. So we're looking more at the physical processes. We're looking at some of the on-the-job training. We're looking at things that are a little different than just kind of some of the things that take place behind a computer. That doesn't mean we don't use a computer. We use them all the time. But we're looking much more on the physical side of things and the process and the facilities than we are at the actual computers themselves. All right, so this gets to be my plug for where I work. I work for CyberCore at Idaho National Lab. And basically, we have these three main pillars. And I own the pillar on accelerating workforce development for control system cybersecurity talent. All right, but we do partner at a grand level, and what that means is we get work from all different types of agencies. We work for the Department of Energy, the Department of Defense, the National Security Agency, you name it, DHS. We talked a little bit about CISA. We do work for all of them. So we try to partner with all those groups so that they can see the different types of cybersecurity projects that we're doing, because they all have similar missions and they could all leverage some of our experience that way. And then drive a national R&D agenda. What we're trying to do in working with Boise State and Sinming and others is bring cyber-informed engineering into the classroom. So when you're studying engineering and building new systems, whether it's buildings or software, you learn a lot about safety and other crucial parts of the engineering life cycle. Cyber is not currently part of that curricula. So one of the things that we're pushing really hard is to get cyber-informed engineering into some of what you're learning when you're at university or in community colleges. So let's talk about why. There's been lots of different attacks. We talked a little bit about what's going on in the Ukraine. Back in 2015, Russia attacked Ukraine's power grid, took the power out for a while. We actually developed a trainer on that episode in and of itself so that we can learn how to protect ourselves from those types of things. You all heard about Colonial Pipeline last year when the East Coast didn't have gas for a couple days. That caused a lot of problems. And that attack wasn't even on the physical infrastructure. It was a ransomware attack. But to protect themselves, they had to take everything down. We're seeing this more and more. You've heard of SolarWinds last year. It kind of got into all the different government agencies, lots of industry. So there's nothing but you'll only hear more and more about these kinds of attacks, which is why we need more and more people in the workforce interested in cybersecurity and developing some of the skills necessary to help us defend against these vulnerabilities that will continue to grow. All right, so with the state of Idaho, because we're Idaho National Lab, because the state has universities and community colleges and is trying to build a larger, more comprehensive ecosystem, we've partnered with the state. The CyberCore building where I work has what we call a university lab. And the goal of the university lab is to work with Boise State, is to work with Idaho State and the University of Idaho to help drive some of this hands-on learning capabilities and take some of our expertise and make it more available to students and build an education ecosystem that leverages all of the different learnings and opportunities that are taking place across Idaho. So as part of that, we have the University Lab, and that's a picture of it. We have some of our Boise State equipment. We have equipment from Idaho State. We have equipment that the lab has provided. So we have lots of industry standard equipment from Schweitzer, Yokogawa, the Honeywell system, Allen Bradley, GE. We have a Siemens coming in. And what this allows us to do is to work with the universities, to work with students to understand the different management systems that we have, how they come together, take a systems of systems approach. So what happens when you start, if you're using Honeywell as your safety system and Allen Bradley for your security system and something else for your building management system? What happens? How do we get those together? Because that creates an attack surface. And if someone gets into one of them, it's really easy to start moving around. As a matter of fact, we do a lot of training. We call it consequence-driven cyber-informed engineering. And basically, the whole point of that training is to think like an adversary. Instead of worrying how to keep them out, think about that they're probably already in. And if they're in your systems, what are the things that you need to protect the most? And so those are some of the ways that we leverage what we're doing with our government sponsors, with what we can start bringing to the classroom. And so basically this lab is designed to partner at scale on control systems engineering and bring that expertise, exchange information, ideas, collaborate, align some of the interdisciplinary programs, and access for students across the state to get hands-on opportunities to learn these concepts and to work with some of our professionals. A really big part of this is investing in our future. As important as it is getting students interested at the university and college level, we really need to think broader. We need to get into the middle schools and certainly the high schools and get kids interested and excited and engaged and aware of the different career paths and opportunities that exist. One of the ways we do this is we host a summer camp. The CyberCore Summer Camp takes place in Boise with Boise State, and this year College of Western Idaho will be joining them. We are also launching the first time ever at Lewis and Clark, working with North Idaho College as well. We've had for the last 5 years a partnership with the College of Eastern Idaho and University of Idaho at University Place doing our intro and advanced camps. And the College of Southern Idaho is doing an intro and advanced camp with us this year as well. So summer camps are a great way of getting kids some hands-on experience, introducing them to some of the subject matter, but also we need to get our teachers, our guidance counselors, our parents more aware of the capabilities and opportunities, and there are lots of them. And so what I want to share with you are some of the resources that are currently available that you might not be aware of. And as I told you, CISA is one of my favorites. They have all kinds of things available for you to take a look at, from student opportunities to camps to career paths. Scholarship for Service helps pay for you to get your degree, utilizing in cybersecurity. As long as you work for a federal agency or a national lab, they'll help you get there. So I've provided a lot of different links. I'm not sure if any of you have participated in the Department of Energy's Cyberforce. So they have a Cyberforce competition that I know all of our universities have participated in. And it's a great way to get some hands-on skills as well as learn the team building and whatnot. But Cyberforce now has a lecture series, and they have individual competitions called Conquer the Hill. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, that's a huge set of resources that if you haven't looked, there are things from K through 12 programming, summer camps, things available at the community college and university level. So it's just interesting to see the wide array of resources. And again, I probably could have slide after slide of them. When you go to these sites, you'll find even more links to other places. But Idaho has plenty of resources too, and there are lots of them. And I encourage you to take advantage of looking at all of the different capabilities, all of the different programs. I will say some of these were new to me. I didn't know that they existed, but they're here. I'll talk a little bit about the Idaho Cybersecurity Task Force. This was convened by the governor back in late August. There were 4 subcommittees that were looking at things like election security, cyber literacy, workforce development, our own state's infrastructure. That task force has developed a report for the governor. I know it's in draft. It should be delivered soon. That's something that you can look at. Idaho has a cybersecurity awareness page from the government. Obviously, Idaho National Lab, I think that we have a lot of resources you might want to check out. I'm kind of a fan. But certainly all of our different universities here in the state, so there are no short supply of programs and opportunities. A lot of them are very new, including what Sinming will be talking about next. But there are all kinds of different ways that you can get more information on cybersecurity. So with that, this kind of just shows you all of the different touch points, that we have here in Idaho. Idaho has such a richness and capability. We are certainly at Idaho National Lab, we are the world's leader in control system cybersecurity. The building that the state provided for us has the world's largest secure classified research center dedicated to control system cyber. So we're able to do a lot of work here that can't be done anywhere else, quite frankly. And so you have a gravity of expertise and capabilities. And when you marry that with all of the colleges and universities, with all of the different government agencies, with all of the different areas of study, we have a really rich ecosystem that we can leverage and take better advantage of. So with that, I'm going to leave you with my punchline. If I have not convinced you with all of my parallels to music that I tried really hard to make and how much music and cybersecurity go together, let's talk about the dollars. This is not my slide. This, again, came from my good friends at CISA. Look at those numbers, all right? So, yeah, you could be a doctor and make a lot of money, but it'd take you twice as long. 4 years, a 4-year degree, look at that mean salary. You could be a lawyer in 7 years and make 10 grand more, so go for it. We do need lawyers in cybersecurity as well. There's a real issue with international law and how we actually hold people accountable, so I'm not trying to detract you from law. I could use you there. My degree, sadly, was in liberal arts, which is probably why I'm talking to you today about cybersecurity. But anyway, I just want to share that with you because I think those are some staggering figures. Those are up to date. I think the source date on their website was December of 2021 or January of 2022. So I'm not sharing dated information. There is a need, and we need you. So with that, we need you and you and you and you. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. That's it? No questions? So, yes. Treefort people, will the slides be available? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know, but okay, sure. Any other questions? That's it? Okay, go, Caitlin.
I'm curious, you talked a lot about Idaho, but are you doing partnerships with other universities across the nation?
Yes. Sure. So it's a great question. So her question was, talked about Idaho. What other things are we doing nationally? So we are Idaho National Lab. So, kind of in that order. But there are a lot of programs. Control system cybersecurity is kind of a specialized area. So some of the different universities that we are working with, University of San Antonio in Texas has a very strong program. We actually have someone that's an outplant that sits there with them and does some of the work. They also have the National Security Collaboration Center that we're a part of. Purdue University in Indiana, they also have a very strong program. That's one that we're tightly coupled with. George Mason University is in the DC area. We work with them a lot. We have a recent engagement with the University of Utah. There's a lot going on in Montana State. There's a lot that we can do regionally in the Intermountain Corridor and leverage some of these things. But the University Lab currently, the only universities we're working with are the ones in Idaho at the moment. But there are lots of programs and there's lots of convergence. So I talk a lot about control system cyber or OT and industrial cybersecurity. So typical like IT cybersecurity or information technology, those worlds are coming together more and more. And we're seeing a lot of that obviously with the Internet of Things and the industry Internet of Things. So as things become more sensors, more devices, they come into play, the more and more those worlds come together. But we still need to have expertise on both sides. So anything you can do to kind of speak both languages, that's a huge win as well. So we're working with other programs that exist across the state and with some of the state agencies to help develop that. Yes.
I know that you have tours of like your breeder reactor and stuff. Are there also tours of the cybersecurity area at INL?
So that's a great question. Yes and no. All right, so the caveat is the cybersecurity in the CyberCore building, because I told you we had that classified research area, is limited to only U.S. citizens. So it's not one of the more open and available. Certainly the cyber lab that we do for the universities, that is not in a classified area, but you do have to be a U.S. citizen to come see that. So, and some of the things that we do sometimes are better seen in other areas, like out at the site, and where we can take advantage of some of the full-scale power grid that we have, wastewater treatment plants, and some of the things. So we can test what we're developing at the lab at scale and make sure our mitigations work correctly. Just like years ago, there was the Aurora experiment that took place out at the site where they were able to prove that a cyber attack could take out a generator. And it opened up a lot of eyes because a lot of people didn't believe it was possible. So I don't know if I'm happy that that happened or sad, but the good news is we're addressing it and making it more fortified as we go. So any other questions?
I was actually going to say, any other questions, guys?
I was really nervous for no good reason, so thank you for being such an accommodating audience.
Eleanor, thank you so much. That was awesome. Well, thank you guys. We've got a few minutes until the next one. I think you should probably stick around for part 2, right? So anyways, if you need to take a break, go to the bathroom, get a drink, we've got Sing Ming up next. All right, guys, thanks again for coming out today. This is part 2. If you made it to the first one, it was actually really interesting. I learned a lot, Eleanor. There's a lot of resources out there. That was really cool. So anyways, guys, thanks. My name's Sean Moikley again, the director of Hackfort. Appreciate you guys coming out. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Sing Ming, and hopefully we'll learn something interesting in part 2. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Oh, one other little note too. When we're at Q&A, I will have someone to pass around the microphone so you can ask, because this is being recorded. So we want to make sure we get that on there. So thanks, guys.
Okay, Sean, I'm good. You're going to have to bring me more people. All right. So I am so happy that Eleanor had teed off so well for me. And I basically get to be myself, talk about degree boxes. So I'm going to tell you a lot of options. But I saw something in Eleanor's slide that I wanted to use to show you why is wrong, what is wrong with a lot of cybersecurity education out there. For a long time, or even till now, at a lot of places, university and community colleges, the way they look at cybersecurity education is purely from computer science point of view, okay? And that's not what the real world does. If you look at this, right, these are all the different job roles. And how many of those job roles a computer science or engineering graduate can do? Okay? A software developer, that's the main one, basically. And then there is a couple more that a student that had gone to computer science program, they might pick up different skill sets to be able to do the rest. But software developer is basically what computer science program teach you to do. Okay? The rest of it, we are thinking that we're going to graduate a bunch of computer science and engineering students trying to fill the job. That is not going to work. Okay? So I'm here to talk to you about some of the options and show you some of the options of how somebody can head towards the cybersecurity career. So here we go. As you probably know, I work for Boise State, but I do have an INL head that I can use when I need to. And Boise State has actually have a sub-campus, a computer science campus right next here. My Wi-Fi, I can actually use the Wi-Fi because we're so close next to it. So that's funny. That's called security. So, we're not able to encapsulate the Wi-Fi signals. So I'm Sim-Ming Lu. I'm a professor. My formal title is actually a professor of electrical and computer engineering, but I don't even do electrical and computer engineering anymore. And I actually started the Cyber Operation Resilience Program, which I'm going to tell you a bit about it, but it is not about me selling a program that I run, okay? It is telling you about all the education opportunity and pathway all across Idaho, whether it's in person or online, and I'm here to tell you all about it. There's only a few people across this whole states that has this kind of information. So the joke is, better don't get run over by a truck because those information is going to get lost. And I do have a joint appointment with Idaho National Lab. So I joke about it. And with that joint appointment, I get to utilize the best part of INL, but I still have to deal with the bad part of BSU. So, all right. So this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about some cybersecurity element. I'm going to tell you about informal and formal education pathway online versus asynchronous online pathway. What is it that is for you? And I'm going to provide more details for some of the asynchronous online program because it is basically available to everyone. Okay, that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, cybersecurity, people might all tell you about it. It's about pen testing. It's about hacking. It's about programming. That's not all. Cybersecurity is about people, process, and technology. Okay, because in the real world, you need people to do the right thing. You need to train them. You need to have procedure. You have to have policy. Okay, and then so people, process, and then technology. Whether you deploy the hardware and software, somebody need to configure them correctly. If it is not configured correctly, the default password is in there. You can go online and look up that particular piece of hardware. I say, ooh, I'm just gonna go online and my puppy can figure out how to get in right there, right? So people, process, and technology. It is not about programming. I'm not saying that it cannot be. It can be, but it's only a small portion of it. Cybersecurity is about managing the people, having the right process, and deploy the technology the correct way. Okay? You guys with me on that, right? I have never rehearsed this talk. I put together the slide yesterday, so I'm winging the whole way. Okay? Okay, if you're still not with me yet, this is what I'm going to talk to you about, because vaccine in itself, like the COVID vaccine, seems to be controversial in some aspects, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use medical. If you think about medical, you have a group of people in the lab developing medicine that usually take years of work. It's usually scientists or biomedical engineer that work on that, okay? And then you have the patient care. You have the doctor and nurses in the front line that taking care of people, right? So you cannot take doctor and nurses, put them in the lab to develop medicine. It's not going to work well. You can also not take biomedical engineer and scientists and put them in the front line and be the doctor and nurses take care of patient. That doesn't work either because they do not know the proper process and procedure, right? And then the rest of the population should stop sticking their hand in the mouth, get all the germ caught up and touching their faces everywhere. So that's how you're going to get disease and all that stuff, right? So this is what I'm going to use to paint a picture in your head of what cybersecurity is about in the real world, okay? You can still have, so you think about the people who are developing medicine in cybersecurity are people that who design and develop hardware and software. Okay? So these are the people, in some way now you need the engineering background and the computer science background. Okay? That is the proper right thing right there. So you need that. So for them to design more secure, there's no such thing as total security, total secure hardware and software. It doesn't exist. But there's something called cyber-informed engineering where you can teach these people to design things much more secure, okay? To do it better. So it's less easy or it's not as easy to get hacked, okay? And then the second is, now you need the next sets of people more on the front line now. We usually call them the cyber operation people. They manage the technology deployment, they prepare the policy, they train the user, they deal with all the day-to-day stuff. Okay, and then the population, everyone else should always no, you should never click on all the links that presented to you. Those are just dangerous, and I cannot show it to you right now. The reason when you click a link, right, by them sending the right thing to you, when you click a link, it actually opened a back channel for the attacker who's also always listening to stuff, get right back into your computer in real time. That's how clicking links can be dangerous. Okay, so you guys with me now? On the whole picture, using a medicine as a metaphor, hopefully that works. Okay, these days, in terms of education, there's one thing called stackable credential. That's for example, you got a job right now. You wanted to pivot your career into cybersecurity. What is the quickest way for you to do it? So it's called stackable credentials. So you say, I think I'm interested in that job. That job needed this skill sets. I can quickly go get that training. It could be 2 weeks, could be 1 week, could be 3 months. I go get training right now. That training allowed me to be qualified for that job, for me to get that. So you kind of think about kind of just-in-time supply chain management versus just-in-time for your credential. You just keep picking up the skill sets towards the job that you have, the next job, and the skill sets keep building it up. The idea on stackable credential is once you have a bunch of those certificate and credential, maybe in most cases, it doesn't work right now. Maybe at some point in time, you will be able to earn a degree out of that. Okay, and in a lot of cases, it doesn't work right now because higher education or higher education institution has a tendency to be really slow in changing. So when there's a new concept, it might take 5-10 years to get there or never get there. So a couple of people here should really understand what I'm talking about here. So, and then curriculum complexity is we have a tendency to design a degree or curriculum where you have to complete all your math before you can get to the fun stuff or the stuff that you want. Okay, right? Here's the problem. For kids who did well in junior high and high school where they got all their math, everything is set for them. For kids, especially a lot of time in rural school district where their math instruction is a bit behind or they do not have the proper instruction that they got, when they get to college, they will struggle to be ready for some of more technical major for them to be ready for it. So we got to think about curriculum a little differently. Instead of them having to take out the math, let them get into some of the fun classes, the classes they desire to get into in their major first, okay? And then teach them enough math for them to learn those technical item and technical skill sets and content, but at the same time still make them take the rest of the math classes. You see the difference right there? So we got to think differently in order to help different students, to help different kids to achieve the education they desire. Okay, I'm going to come back a little bit. So if you want to pivot your career, kind of something I talked about just now is you can always go learn it yourself. If you are that kind of person that, okay, this is what I want to do, this is a job that I want to be, and this is a skill set I need to go pick up, you can go find YouTube video. Yes, right? We all find YouTube video to repair our cars or repair things around the house, right? We can do the same thing to beef up our own career skill set too. You can do the exact same thing, okay? And Coursera is a good place for you to get a lot of content for, I think, $30, $40 a month. It's kind of like a kind of food buffet model. All you can eat, you can learn as much learning as you can, as quickly as you want. And if you really want to pivot a cybersecurity career, is one of the first job is cybersecurity analyst. Is basically you're gonna have a lot of desk time, and you're gonna be sitting there looking at information and making connection whether there is something that you need to be worrying about. Okay, You are analyst. You sit there and look at information and analyze whether something that you need to be worrying about. Or I say, like, let's say whether you have or don't have a degree right now. I say, I just want to go take a academic certificate. It could be a 12 credit hour, or I'm just going to go get another degree, or get a degree that I never thought of that I could be qualified for it. Okay, so let's say you say, oh, when you're junior high and high school, I wasn't very good at math, but if I wanted to go get an engineering and computer science degree, I got to be really good. I got to go to all those math classes. That's not going to work for me. But there are different pathway now. There are different pathway for you to do that. So, and there are variety of way within Idaho that you can get into cybersecurity. So what I want you to think about is stackable. I want you to think about certificate, and I want you to think about certification. Certification is industry certification, a test that you can go take. You kind of or in some way to get a stamp of approval, but you can put it on a resume usually, hopefully, and usually will open some door. And certificate is usually an academic thing, whether a 2-year school or 4-year school offer you that credential, a certificate of 9 to 12 credit hour. Okay. In a lot of places now, you can sign up for just take a certificate. You don't have to sign up for a whole degree. Okay. So started to get that. So, but while if you're thinking about formal education, whether you got to think about in-person, synchronous online, or asynchronous online. Okay. The difference between in-person and synchronous online is in a physical classroom versus a Zoom classroom. Okay, we got to be careful when a lot of people talk about online, they are talking about synchronous online, where instead of going to a physical classroom at 11 o'clock to go to a class, you're going to a Zoom link on a Zoom classroom to go to a class at 11 o'clock. You still have to show up at the right time. Okay, but the new modality and this particular mode of education has been out there, but it's gotten to be very popular, is asynchronous online, where you have a whole week to get some of the work done. That for that particular week, there are a bunch of work that you have to get done at that week. It doesn't matter at what time or what hour you do it, you just got to get it done within that week. Okay, and then there's an instructor watching over you to make sure your work gets done, your works get graded. But it's asynchronously, even if there is a virtual office hour, it's not required for you to attend, but it's available for you to get help if you need it. So a lot of people like in-person or synchronous online is because they get to see the live interaction. A lot of people does not like asynchronous online, but most people really like asynchronous online because the flexibility of them still can carry on their day-to-day job and taking care of family. And then when they have the downtime and they schedule downtime and say, oh, between 8 and 10 at night, that's a particular time that I can get my homework done and get the things completed and get it submitted. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you do it. You just got to do it by a certain time. So to do asynchronous online, you in some way have to be really independent and stay on task. Otherwise, you're going to need to get somebody to help you out. And you have to be really comfortable when something doesn't work and it's not working the way you want it to, you're going to have to reach out for help. You cannot wait. Okay? So that's right there is the difference. So pathway. Like the first slide that I showed it to you, that if you wanted to be a computer science major, you wanted to be an engineering major, there is a valid cybersecurity pathway as well. You can go get a computer science or engineering degree and get a cybersecurity certificate or cybersecurity minor to be part of that degree. That is completely still doable, and you can do that in all four-year school here in Idaho, whether it's at ISU, U of I, LC State, or BSU, you can do that. Okay, so in most cases, those are all in person, and yeah, in person is not very interesting to me these days, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. If you want to talk about it and I can help you, point you where you need to go, I'll be more than happy to show you. Or You could start at any of the community college that has a 2-year computer science program. You can do that too, okay? Community college is a really good place to start because the tuition fee is usually a little over $100 a credit hour compared to $300 to $400 at state university. So it's very cost effective. And so there, and then, but I also want to talk about, mention one thing. There is a difference between associate of science and associate of applied science. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it in a little bit. And there's one really interesting program is at Idaho State. They have an industrial cybersecurity engineering technology program. Okay, it's actually started as a 2-year program in industrial control system, and then they expanded to 4-year. So right now it's a 4-year program where you can get a BAS, Bachelor Applied Science, Industrial Cybersecurity Engineering Technology degree. So it's a 4-year degree. Okay, so and in at least 2 campuses that I know of, they have a general Bachelor Applied Science degree where there is about only 9 credit hour of required classes. Then you can pick and choose the certificate and classes all across the campus to assemble into a degree that you want. Okay? There is only a few of those in this state. BSU has one. I believe ISU has one. I'm not too sure about U of I has it. Okay? All right. So this is where I wanted to talk to you about what is the difference between some associate degree versus the other. So in general, the 2-year colleges offer Associate of Art, Associate of Science, and Associate of Applied Science. Okay? And then the 4-year colleges usually, some offer some associate degree too, but most of them offer Bachelor of Arts, Science, Business Administration, Fine Arts, Music, and Applied Science. Okay? What I want you to concentrating on is this. For 2-year colleges, Associate of Arts and Science are set up to transfer to complete a 4-year degree. So their transfer pathway is usually pretty seamless. You're not going to lose that many credit hour. Okay? But if you're enrolled in any of the Associate of Applied Science degree at community colleges, be very careful because most of them do not have a proper transfer pathway. It's because in community colleges, AAS usually being viewed as a terminal technical degree. So for them to get a 4-year degree, the pathway is usually very complicated. But I believe there are 2 4-year schools, Lewis and Clark State and BSU, have solved that problem. Okay, we have taken care of it for cybersecurity. So this is, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. So now this is when I started my sales talk. Remember, I give you the slide of the general population and where everybody need to learn how to stay safe. So it's called a cyber awareness education. And I have set up such a program. It's a 12 credit hour. All right, on top is the 4 classes, 12 credit hour. You can complete that, take a class every 7 weeks. In 8 months or so, you can complete a cyber awareness certificate. It's pretty comprehensive. I'm going to tell you, you're going to work your bottom off because I make sure you get your money worth, okay? And then also, if you already have a degree or you already have a graduate degree, you want to pivot, we have a cyber operations certificate, a 12 credit hour that teach you about offensives, defensive security, recovery and forensic, and introductory to cybersecurity in 12 credit hour when you can do it in 7-week session in 8 months, 1 classes at a time. And along with it, you can obtain an industry certification. The certification that we encourage you to do is Security Plus. Okay? Cyber awareness, cyber operations. So one is awareness, one is career focus. We got that all ready to go, asynchronous online. You don't even need to come see me. You don't even need to physically be on campus. You can do that all online. Okay? So this is what we did. Lewis and Clark, Nina over at Lewis and Clark State and myself, we call it the CORe Program, CORE. we have set up transfer pathway for all 4 community colleges. Then we totaled it up. It's actually 15 AAS degree that can transfer into the cybersecurity management degree at LC State or transfer into the core degree at Boise State. Okay, the degree at LC State is cybersecurity management with some programming focus. The degree at BSU is operational focus, and I can give you a little bit more detail. So I'm just basically giving you a highlight of, for example, at College of Western Idaho, the things that we have looked at that will be suitable into either degree is these 5. There's AAS in cybersecurity network, the Cisco network, computer support specialist, and software development. You wonder why really all this will work for cybersecurity? Yes, it's because you have front-end people, you have network, you have computer technology. Every single one of those needs cybersecurity and somebody to do them. Okay? So if you come from a community colleges with a lot of hands-on background, because community colleges, they have a lot of networking and computer hardware to teach you the hands-on skill sets. So you get a lot of hands-on skill sets coming out of community colleges. So when you come to a 4-year program, the rest of the 4-year, the 2-year, you complete 2-year community colleges and 2 more years at a 4-year school, whether at LC State or BSU, will give you the rest of the knowledge just at a higher thinking knowledge, because community colleges can give you the hands-on skill. Sometimes 4-year school does not have that kind of equipment to do that. Okay? So the best of 2 worlds. And we have calculated out too. It's pretty cost effective too. You get 2 years at community colleges at about $100 and $150 a credit hour. And when you come to 4 years, between $300 and $350 a credit hour, you basically cut the cost of your education by a lot. Okay? And then at College of Eastern Idaho, at Idaho 4, there are 2 AAS degree, Information Assurance and Information Technology will be suitable for this. Okay. In College of Southern Idaho, there are 2 as well, Cybersecurity and Programming, and there's a network degree too that will work for this. In North Idaho College, is there are 2 as well, the network system is a networking degree, basically Cisco-based networking degree, and computer information technology. 2 that right there. So, and then there's 1 in Lewiston is information technology. So you see that if you want to go to community colleges, whether you're in eastern part of state, southern part of state, western part of state, or panhandle part of state, right? There is place for you to stay local and get your 2-year degree. And then now it gets interesting. You can, let me jump back up. So there are 15 of them. You can complete 1 of those. And we have a way for you to get your 4-year degree within 2 more years, all online. Because the cool thing about a lot of AAS degree, right, they usually would have found jobs before they graduate. Or right as soon as they graduate, they would have found job. And they want to stay where they are. We can help them get the 4-year degree by staying put or where they are and do either one of those degrees online. You guys still with me? Okay. I know my slide have a lot of text, but now I'm gonna get into I'm gonna get into the degree box. Professor loves to talk degree box. So remember the AAS degree that I talked about, right? It's usually 60 to 65 credit hour. It's usually 15 credit hours general education. It will go there. So you may not have enough, but will help you figure out what else then you need to take. And the 45 credit hour or technical credit hour will go right into that top box, basically fulfill that box. So you think about 120 credit hour for undergraduate degree, you have completed at least 60 credit hour. You are halfway there. That is a huge accomplishment. And then now all that we need to do is at BSU, these are the classes that you have to do. Okay, that you have to do to complete your 4-year degree. You can do that in 2 years, but you don't have to. If you want to take another semester or 3 year, you could do that too. All right. So I'm not going to tell you every single class or what it is, but if you want to talk to me about it, I'll be more than happy to tell you. It's going to be very boring if we keep doing this. And then this is the degree at Lewis and Clark State. So they accept 39 credit hour from their AAS degree on the technical credit hour. And so from your AAS degree will meet about 15 credit hour general education as well. So you get about 60 credit hour right there as well. And then the gray box and also gen ed are mostly what you need to do. And you can do that online too. Okay? If you don't like BSU, hopefully you like LC State. If you don't like LC State, maybe you like BSU. So I got somebody really nice, Nina and Eleanor here. Know Nina too, and my collaborator at LC State, that we work really closely with Online Idaho. So Online Idaho is not completely set up yet, but if it is set up online at idaho.edu, you're supposed to be able to sign up classes right there. And I hope the vision is going to get implemented. I'm excited. So, but let's say, oh man, I already have an undergraduate degree. It's non-technical. How do I pivot? You can do that. If your undergraduate degree is computer science, it's very easy for you to pivot into a MS in cybersecurity. Okay, you can do that at all 3 state universities. If you desire to go all the way PhD, you can do that at all 3 state universities too. But if your degree is not computer science or engineering, for you to do computer science-based or engineering-based cybersecurity will be, it used to be next to impossible, but I have made it possible. I have made it possible where if you look at a top one called MS, Cyber Operation and Resilience, we designed a MS degree for anyone that have an undergraduate degree that wants to do cybersecurity. I even have nursing, somebody, a registered nurse, that switched their career and already found, or like 2 semesters in, already found a data analyst job. That is her first step out of nursing to get into cybersecurity. I was so excited for her. So this is the thing. So what I want to talk, a lot of these is computer science based and engineering based. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the top one, the cyber operation, is what I want to talk to you a little bit about. This is the degree, a graduate, a 30-hour credit where you can concentrate on resilient engineering, analyst and trade intelligence, or governance policy. If you say, I'm not a very technical person, but I'm really interested in policy, laws, governance, compliance, you could do that. We set up the ability for you to do that. And there is not even a thesis. It's very much a workforce and class-based MS degree. Is you can your culminating activity is you can go teach a class, whether with us or community college, or you can do a small project and present it, or you can go get an industry certification, because industry certification, put it on a resume, will help you get yourself into a door. Okay. So, that's it. That's all I got. I did it in 31 minutes. So, thank you. I know he got.
Well, thanks for talking. That was incredibly interesting. So I'm more on I have an undergraduate degree in music, surprisingly enough. And so I've been going through getting certifications, so A+, Network Plus, etc., working in that direction. Do you feel that a standard education like what we've been talking about here is a better way or a more direct way to go through than just trying to work through the certifications that are kind of outlined in, let's just say CompTIA for now, but they're kind of outlined versus what you've outlined? Can
I have you put a slide back on? if you're gung-ho and doing it yourself, that might be the quickest way if you can do it yourself. Okay? But at some point in time, right, I'm going to tell you this. This is the truth. At some point in time, if you're going to work in cybersecurity, somebody will be basically checking in on you at some point in time. If you're going up higher and higher in your career, right? Somebody will at some point in time look at your record to see what other education that you have. No, music get you to think differently is actually a very good kind of what Alana talked about in the part one. Your cybersecurity skill set. The reason why let me sidetrack a little bit. I'm a professor. I have a tendency to do that. Is usually when I tell my wife and kid that I have an idea, they start to twitch. It's because it's sometimes pretty crazy. The reason why diversity is important is because our cultural background and how we raise will look and approach a problem completely differently. In cybersecurity, it's really important because we see something, somebody say that's no big deal, somebody will come in a different direction. Wait. Somebody approach it might be from my cultural background, and that is actually a big deal. We got to look into this. That's why it's important. So coming back to this is maybe getting yourself first step and pivot in career and get that new job by doing it that right there, what you're doing, A+ and Network Plus. I don't think A+, if you are familiar with computer already and hardware, A+ is really not necessary, and jump into Network Plus and Security Plus. But Security Plus is a basic certification, right? And some job posting require, some not. But maybe the next one that you should be thinking about is Cybersecurity Analyst, CYSA, okay? But my advice to you is if you can find a graduate program, right, that can take you right in as who you are while you're doing your certification, and then for also the same time and help you get a graduate degree, I think that is the most optimum route, right? The reason is this. The reason is here. Oh, hang on. Let me need to show you this. Don't drop the mic. Okay. The reason is this. The reason is certification sometimes doesn't teach you some of the things that you really need to know. For example, cyber project management. There's no, you can get a certification, but if you don't work it through the mock-up project, you're not going to get the full lessons. Okay. The funny thing is, and Eleanor and I know this person really well. Her name is Shah Sample. In some way is we put together a really cool curriculum. We are not even teaching you cybersecurity first. We're teaching you system thinking. We want to put it in your head to see how everything ties together and for you to potentially find the right solution and find the right problem for you to solve the right problem. Our first class that we advise students to take is actually cyber system thinking. We want you to see that we are all interconnected. Find a system problem instead of, because a lot of time the things that we see is actually a symptom. It's not the source of the problem. We want you to be able to do that. So a formal education can get you that. Certification not able to get you that. So my advice to you is still get a certification if you can and pivot, and then get the education.
Thanks for pulling all this information together and your dedication to making these pathways easy for all of us. Is this information available anywhere online, like on Next Steps Idaho or on one of the state's cybersecurity websites? Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's only in a few people's head.
Okay.
That's what's sad about it, is because the reason why a few of us know it is because we've been like working on education pathway, and when we start learning things and put 2 and 2 together. And a lot of AAS transfer, a lot of people don't understand what's so difficult about it. And partially is because of state board education policy and not West, the accreditation agency. So it's, yeah. So that's the reason why we're talking to you, in the meeting in end of April. I think that is something that we need to share right there to make it more available.
Okay. Thank you for your talk, Dr. Liu.
Mm.
At the beginning, you mentioned that there's many roles that overlap with cybersecurity, like your first slide. I'm like a general software developer. Obviously, I touch cybersecurity on occasion, but it's not my focus. I was wondering if you have resources like discussion or working groups in the Treasure Valley area that someone like me in an overlapping discipline could attend and get some value from.
There is the B-side Boise is not as active lately the last couple of years. So there's a ISSA. I forgot what it says stand for. ISSA is actually a society. I can look it up and send it to you later.
Thank you.
But there's another thing that I think there's some resources related to cyber information engineering, and also secure design principle and secure coding. And none of these are actually new. Oh, there's one. I mean, now I'm running a blank. OWASP, OWASP. They just started a chapter. You heard about it? OWASP, they just started a chapter. It's actually a national organization. They concentrate a lot in terms of programming and also web programming, secure programming practices. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
This may just be for the benefit of me, but what would you tell a 15-year-old to do in high school in order to be able to take on one of these tracks? Like what classes are important, or what can they do to sort of...
To me, as long as they keep interest in school, do well in school, and if they like math and science, do that. If not, as long as they stay in school and keep interested in school and get to school, these days we have opened up a lot of opportunity for anyone to get into this. It doesn't mean that you have to be calculus ready when you get out of high school and having science, chemistry, physics, biology by high school. Not anymore. Some of us have solved this problem. So the most important thing is stay in school, and finish strong, and then all the options are much more open than it used to be. It used to you had to be like algebra or calculus ready, but not anymore. But more importantly is stay hungry and stay creative. That is the most important thing. Somehow, the K-12 system, they beat so much out of you. I'll tell you this, I'm even worse. I grown up in Malaysia. Our education system there, I left when I was 20 years old. I got to high school there, and it's even worse. We have standardized tests in 5th and 6th grade, and then 8th and 9th grade, and then the 11th and 12th grade. So I'm happy to get some of it back.
Test. Oh, there it is. All right. Well, thank you so much, Singming. I really appreciate it. That was awesome. All right, guys. Well, this one's wrap. We have one more speaking presentation in the other room at 3 around UX design. That's going to be really interesting. Mirko is a good friend of mine. Should be a really fun one. And there's also a workshop on UX starting at 3. Both are going to be really, really fun. The workshop's actually going to be really cool too, Sarah Glenn. So thank you, guys. And on to the next one.